Welcome, everybody. I am here with the creators of the Overlord Engine II. I'm here with Hugo and Miguel. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this. Really quick, before we get into talking about this really awesome app that you guys have developed, I just wanted to get to know the both of you a little bit as people and as card game players. So, Miguel, if you don't mind going first, why don't you give us the brief cliff notes of your journey with games and maybe specifically with trading card games?
Well, with games, that's a long way to go. So I started playing, I don't know, since I remember. My uncle gave me a computer. I was like 6 years old. And I started playing, I was like eight, Warcraft 2. And then I had like a Formula One game on that. I also started playing. I got my first Game Boy. I was like 10. So I was introducing to gaming really, really early. And it was a passion that I just keep with me since now, and I don't plan quitting playing and quitting creating stuff and managing new things and new worlds and new adventures, and so that's part of my creativity, and so yeah, that's since I remember has always been with me, and I think it's a really big part in my creative process and in what I am today. TCG, more specifically, I remember starting playing Pokemon cards when I was around 9, 8. So I think that was the first TCG that I played. And then I played also Magic from 11 years old or something like that. Of course, it was
Okay.
casual, something with friends. But yeah, so since I kind of remember.
What about you, Hugo? When did like games and trading card games enter your life?
Yeah, just like Miguel, I've been introduced to games really early, but specifically with trading card games, I started playing Magic in the 2000s. I had
Okay.
like 9, 10 years old, and it was around Tempest. So but it took me a long time before actually learning how to play Magic, like a fair 2 to 3 years playing the game in order to actually understand what was
Yeah.
this thing. I mean, it's not easy, especially
Yeah,
from
and
someone that has no contact with Magic.
right, yeah, and some of those cards had such walls of text on them that were convoluted and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's a heck of a time to be trying to learn a TCG.
It
That's
is.
great.
And
and
that's
we had
also
another
after they
problem.
started experimenting a lot. So,
Yeah.
And we didn't have the money, so everything
yeah.
that I got was from a
Right.
gift or I had to ask, so I couldn't go there and purchase my boosters, or
Yeah.
so kind of restricted on that too.
Totally. Yeah. As a kid, you don't have. I mean, you might get an allowance or you might get some money for your birthday or whatever, but like you're not walking into a game store and buying a box of whatever the newest set is, right? You're scrounging from your buddies and with if you can beg your parents into buying you a pack or two every now and then. When did the two of you get into Flesh and Blood?
It was Ugo that brought me again not only to Flesh and
Okay.
Blood but to TCGs themselves. So I stopped playing TCGs also. I don't know, like 15 years ago or something.
Okay.
And then I tried to come back multiple times to Magic. Like, yeah, now I got some money. Now it's different. Now I'm gonna understand better the game. I love that game so much. Let's try to go back. But every time that I tried to get back, you had so many sets, so many new stuff that it was hard to come back, and other
Sure.
games too. So people were playing in other game modes that I didn't really enjoy that much.
Right.
Um, in the end, so we worked for the same company. Giving some context, I'm a software engineer. Yugo is a UX designer,
Okay.
and we worked for the same company. And one day, he was playing with one of our colleagues, and I passed by, asking, "Oh, you are playing Magic?" And he was like, "No, no, no, this is Flesh and Blood." And I'm like,
Oh, okay.
"Oh, Flesh and Blood, okay." And I got something there, and yeah, one day I went to him and said, like, yeah, let's try that. And he very smartly had a set of cards, common. Commoner decks didn't exist, if I'm not mistaken, at
Right.
that time. But he had like sets of commoner decks, pre-made blitz that he did.
Okay.
And he gave one to me and said, "Hey, you can have it." And from then, yeah, so like,
Awesome.
yeah, this is a great game. Big depth. I love this.
Okay.
So Yeah.
It was Viscerai, right?
Yes, I picked Viscerai. He gave me a
Okay.
choice. He was like, "Hey, I have a lot of, just pick a hero," and I'm like, "Okay, let's do it."
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's the smart way to do it. Well done, Hugo. I applaud you
Yeah.
for having that first. It's like that. However that saying about drugs goes,
Exactly.
right? The first one's
First
free,
example.
and then
The
you keep
first
coming back for
sample,
more.
exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so Hugo, you brought Miguel in. When do you remember approximately like what set that was in the timeline?
I do. It was when I brought Miguel in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it
then
was
also for when you started.
Uprising.
Yeah.
Uprising.
Oh, okay. All right. So, boy, time confuses me. So that's about a year ago that Uprising came out.
2022, late
Oh my,
Yeah.
2022. So we are talking
wow.
about.
Okay.
I think it was
Almost
like
2 years.
July, August. I think it was like in summer because we played outside,
Okay.
Yeah.
or
I think
September.
the work premiere was in June, something like that. I went
Right.
to the work
Okay.
premiere.
All right. So Miguel got a free Commoner Viscerai deck around Uprising. Hugo, when did you get into Flesh and Blood?
Well, I got in it was Monarch. They
Okay.
were just releasing Monarch, and I got into the store, and I've seen online some decks that I was planning to buy, and I was like, oh, Prism, this sounds like a cool deck. I do
Right.
like Illusionist. It's like a very different class that not many like is an unexplored archetypes in other trading card games, and I was like, okay, let me explore this one. But
Sure.
when I got to the store, they were sold out. Like Prism was sold out.
Right.
And thank God it was sold out because otherwise I would be a Prism player, and I can't stand Prism players. But yeah, it was Realm Monarch,
Okay.
and it's actually funny because I started playing just because someone told me that this game, Flesh and Blood, would go really well with a PVE mode, and they were just working on a PVE mode, and I was like, oh yeah, let's go.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
and as you
hilarious.
may assume, they never released it
Yeah,
till today.
we're still waiting.
We're
So
still waiting.
Come on, guys, they are still working.
yes, that's true. I won't give them a hard time. They're juggling a few things right now over at
Oh
Legend
yeah, I
Story
imagine that.
Studios. So
And they also said that
yeah.
making, and I totally understand that making a draftable set is super hard. So
Oh, certainly, yeah. And I mean, and to be frank, of the things that they want to focus on, that's where their focus is, and understandably so.
I understand.
I'm certainly thankful that they're putting a lot of emphasis and focus on good draft sets because that means it's more likely to get other people into the game, and drafting's fun. So
Yep.
I'm all about that. So that brings us to the main topic, really, of what we're talking about here, and that's PvE in Flesh and Blood, because the two of you developed the Overlord Engine II, which is an awesome app for playing Flesh and Blood in a PvE style. I discovered this app. I can't remember exactly, maybe 3 months ago, and I didn't have a lot of time to mess around with it. But then that interest got revitalized when I joined another server, and somebody else mentioned PV, and I was like, you know what? I need to open that app up again and actually sit down and try it. And I was just blown away by the thought and love that you guys put into it, and the fact that you even developed this app and that you're giving away for free to the rest of us in the community to be able to use in such an awesome way. So now that I've gushed a little bit about this, can you guys give me the history of the Overlord Engine 2? And because this is the Overlord Engine 2, that hints at there's an original Overlord engine.
Yes,
Yes, precisely.
I think Google should be the one speaking about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Lay it on
Maybe
me.
I'll probably start because my story is shorter.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Ubu made me a challenge, not even like 6 months ago, 7 months ago, to develop an app for an engine that he has been working on for quite a while. So I think he has been working on Overlord for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, on the game
Yeah.
design.
Before you joined, so
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
almost 3. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he came with the idea. It was a time that was good for me to have new projects. I was interested. I loved Flesh and Blood, and that made all the sense to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, since then we started developing it. He had most of the game design already done, He's mostly in charge also of the game design. Not that we don't discuss that, because we discuss the game design together, but he's the one making the decisions on the game design. I'm more on the engineering side, and monetization, and so etc. Yeah, Hugo, I think now it's your turn to give your long story about Overlord Engine.
Yeah. Please give me the long
Really
story. I'd love to hear it.
The long story starts when as I told you, I got into Flesh and Blood because of PvE.
Yeah.
So, and it didn't take me too long to realize that was like taking too long to come. And I was like, okay, let me try to mess around with some things. Let me try to develop something, because I was always what is the word for that? It's not amazed, but I was always interested in how some games can make a self-piloted enemy in which you can interact with.
Yeah.
One of the main expoints that I played back then, it was from Scythe, a board game. There's a company called Automa Factory, and they're really good at it. So I was like, okay, in order to make a self-piloted enemy, you don't want to actually, they don't have to follow the same rules. That's what I mean. So I started messing around. I started doing some prototypes, and I was like, okay, I think I can develop something like that. And I started going full blown designing this, and I came up with the Overlord Engine 1, which was not called Overlord Engine 1 back then.
Right.
And it was a print and play PvE module in which you had to build a basic deck, which was basically vanilla cards, and that was the boss's deck. And then you had the boss. The boss has a weapon, and they had the stance cards. The stance cards were really the biggest catch of all it, because I needed something to that tells like the boss's intentions, that tells the boss how to play. Otherwise, it would be like bland. Right. So the boss has to pick actions, and that was the best system that I could develop around them.
Yeah.
And so I stick with this print and play version for like almost a year, and I got the help of the community. So that was when it started. I created the Discord server. Back then I was only on Reddit, and then Sloopdoop got in. Do you know the Sloopdoop from the YouTube channel?
Yeah, I'm aware of Sloop.
So he got in. He was one of the OGs. He's been part of playtest from this version, and I thank him a lot for all his help and effort, like promoting this and helping me with the playtests. So I went developing this, but it was not as interesting as I thought it could be, because there was some clear limits of like a physical deck. It was kind of not so good to have people ask people to print and play their cards. So that was a big barrier. It was not that easy to just play PvE. So it was hard to get people in. So that was when I started developing a web version of it. But I tried doing it myself. By the product itself was a Figma prototype.
Okay.
And it was not doing really well because I can't code, and that was like a pseudo version going around. So that was when I dragged Miguel in, and we started creating this version that is known as Overlord 2, because since it's not on paper, it was a different project, even though it shared like it brought the fundamentals from the Overlord Engine 1, but I didn't want it to name it, give it another name, or name it Overlord Engine 2.0. Overlord Engine 2. That's the way to go.
Yeah. Awesome. So how much carried over from the original Overlord engine to this one? Like, are there bosses from the original Overlord engine that also exist here?
Yes. Okay. Mainly 3 of them.
Okay.
Sugurath, it is the first of all. It was meant to be the vanilla boss.
Right.
The dragon. That was the first thing that came to my mind, and I was developing that. And even mechanically, he is super similar to the original design.
Okay.
Another one that is super similar is Rokas, the Rat King. He was also one of the OGs, and Alastor, that used to be called Howling Woodsman.
Right.
But the mechanics are the same, basically. The
Well,
Rocket attacks with the barricades. Alastor has these two states, like corporeal, ethereal,
Right.
and those are basically the ones that remained.
of course,
Okay.
everything had to be reworked to work on an app, and we also got some advantages of having it in an app. But yeah, mostly they are the same, and we still, I think you still go and have some inspiration on those bosses.
Of course, yeah. And it was good because we could simplify a lot by going digital. So
Yeah.
a lot of like the learning how to play, some of the interactions, they were made super easier. In the first version, when the boss was about to play a card, he would need to also pitch for it. So it was a kind of confusing
Interesting. Right. So I'm
interaction.
assuming did it also require a human to actually be playing as the boss as well?
Nope, it was self-piloted. It just required
Oh,
maintenance.
okay. Oh, interesting. All right. Well, man, so that's fascinating. This is maybe an impossible question to answer, but can you give a rough estimate? I suppose each of you give me an estimate of how much time you've put into developing both. I guess, Hugo, let's start with you. The collective amount of hours you've spent on Overlord Engines 1 and 2 combined.
Collective amount of hours. That's
I think it's easier to tell you an average per day.
yeah, maybe an average per day, but also, can I count the nights that I didn't sleep? That I didn't sleep because I was thinking of it. Yeah,
Fair enough.
I couldn't give you a number, but
Okay.
I've been working on this for over 3 years. I kind of stopped once when I was doing this shift to the digital mode. That
Okay.
required a lot of design, a lot of game design. So I took like it was like a 4 months hiatus. But basically, I've been working on that nonstop, at least like 1 to 2 hours a day at the worst days.
So on average, an hour a day for the past 3 years, and that's probably the low end of the average.
Yeah, in the low end, let's just put this number. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you, Hugo. Sorry, Miguel. What about you? Do you have an approximate idea? Is it similar to that?
No, I would say that it's like, let me make here on working hours, daily hours. I would say I would spend like 2 hours average daily,
Okay.
not counting weekends.
Right.
But yeah, so I have like, let's say, or even more, 3 to 4 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is going to be dangerous, but because math for one is not something I'm good at, and neither is on the fly mental math. But we're looking at probably at least between the two of you 1,000 to 1,200 hours on this project.
Yes.
safe to assume that.
If you count with the Ugu 3 years, yeah, for sure.
Right. You know, at least 365 hours a year for 3 years gets you in the
Times three,
ballpark.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, man. Okay. That's incredible. So you mentioned, Hugo, that the community had some involvement in specifically Overlord Engine 1.
Yeah.
What sort of, I guess, designs and stuff like that? How did the community contribute? I'm curious about that.
It was mainly on playtests. So they
Okay.
were contributing in playtests and feedback. Also, we had some really great guys, really nice guys. Shout out to Emilio. He was a guy from Panama, and he designed what we currently use as the frames for the barricades.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's on him. And there were some boss submissions that we had back then. I've also created some boss with collabs with some YouTube channels.
Right.
So it was Kitchen Table TCG, Sloop Doop, and I was in the initial steps of developing a boss with DM Armada, but
Okay.
we didn't move like really in the
Right.
late stages of this design.
And that was for Overlord Engine 1, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember when Louis and Sloop put those videos out about the bosses that got made. And I'm gonna just be completely honest. I remember thinking like, that's so cool, but I don't have the first idea about how I would go about printing and using this stuff.
Yeah.
So the transition to the app, hats off.
It makes a world of difference.
It's bordering on the perfect medium for this type of thing, I think. So yeah, this is not as hard hitting of a question. Not that any of these have really been hard hitting, but I'm curious who each of you, like, who your favorite boss is to play against.
You want to start, Miguel?
Well, I don't have like a favorite boss, I would say.
Oh, you're a parent, aren't you? Saying, "Oh, I don't have a favorite kid."
No. Okay, so I can tell one that for me, it's like, even though it's the simpler, it was the first, so I give like a special care about it with Zul'Garath, right? But the thing is, each boss has their own mechanic, so to speak, which make the game different. And that is really interesting, right? Mm-hmm. So we can talk about Carp. That is a boss that is not even live for everyone, but when this goes live, we hope that it's live. Even that one, I played and I said like, wow, this is different. This just made the game again interesting. Omega Kill Switch, for example, it's one that plays with the transformation. It gets grower, it gets stronger and stronger. So you kind of have, it's like a race for you to win. So yeah, it's really hard for me to tell you one, but if I had to choose one, I would go for the OG Zul'Garath.
Okay, awesome. Hugo, what about you?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that. If I had to pick, I don't think I have a favorite boss, but I do have a favorite mechanic involved, and it's the Intenguro, the Earth Ninja. I really like how the design of the Intengo tokens came around, and I think if I had to pick a favorite, it would be either this one and also Voltrak.
Okay,
I also think Voltrak is super cool.
Right.
It's interesting because regarding mechanics, I like the rock as mechanic of the barricades attacking, which also makes everything. And that was a challenge in the game design at the beginning. But yeah, I think we turned that around, and now it's pretty balanced and pretty fun to play. So yeah, so you see here, you have, we selected almost 4 different bosses just because of the mechanics. So yeah, for us it's very hard, and it's very interesting, that question, because I don't think we ever spoke about this. Me and
yeah, we never did.
Okay.
And there's one thing that's super interesting is that the game itself, the base game growing, like Flesh and Blood growing, also enables us to explore different mechanics. For example, Carp was not a thing until Might tokens showed up. So since they revealed Might tokens, I was like, okay, Carp can be a boss that you still utilize that.
Right.
Also, Rockcast, it was terrible to balance Rockcast, but then they created the Blood Rot Box tokens, and that was when it hit the spot.
But the reverse is also true. So every new release, every new set might make us adapt stuff, because it might be imbalanced, or with some new release might break something, right? So it's a kind of two-way knife that we kind of have to balance. But that's also part of the challenge that we like, and that's why we are so passionate about this project. Those challenges are something that we love to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like you said, just to build on that a little bit, Heavy Hitters just came out, and it brought all those extra new heroes that operate in ways different than anything else has in the game, and then that leads you to, it almost allows you to work in tandem with LSS, right? Like then all of a sudden you see this thing and it sparks, oh wait, then we could develop a boss that does this. And the thing that's even more fascinating to me is it's this like perfect meshing of an actual physical TCG and a digital TCG, because there are mechanics and things you can do digitally that just aren't feasibly possible in paper, right? So that allows you guys to come up with even more wacky stuff to throw at us heroes that are just trying to defeat the boss. So I think that is
and not
awesome.
only that, but the management. So Hugo told me this a lot of times, and I totally agree. When you are playing with your friends, you don't want one to have a different role, right? Even when you play Dungeons and Dragons, some people like to be dungeon masters, which is awesome. But having everyone face the same adventure and the same situation and being all at the same level brings a
Right.
different sense of group, a different sense of party,
Absolutely.
different empathy towards the situation, right?
Right.
And
It's
I
a
and having an app that can do that, I think it's great. Of course, Flesh and Blood was made to play with your friends, and we really wanted to keep that because that's the essence of Flesh and Blood.
certainly.
But I do think that having something auxiliary has an app to be doing that no player should be doing actually also brings your friends together and you are all playing together at the same table, and that for us is amazing.
Right. It's actually again, and I'm gonna at the risk of inflating your egos too much. This was the exact thing that I'm looking for with Flesh and Blood, because just where I'm at with my life, I'm a dad. I have 2 kids. My wife is significantly smarter and more successful than me, so she's the one working, and I stay home with the kids. And I also live in a tiny, tiny town in the middle of the United States that doesn't have a game store where I can go and meet people at locals to play. So online play has been the only way that I've been able to really keep in with the game. So Talishar has been an awesome tool for that. But additionally, then I'll just go to 1 or maybe 2 events a year. So I've got all these paper cards that I don't really have much to do with. But then this thing comes along and it's like, oh, I can brew up whatever wacky deck I want and play against this boss and see if I can beat it. And then additionally, I really like this as a way to teach people how to play the game, because granted, the boss is doing things that aren't really real, quote unquote, in Flesh and Blood, but then you're able to teach alongside and then demonstrate the stuff you're doing. And it doesn't have the same weird kind of feels bads of I'm the experienced player and I'm just absolutely knocking the face in of my buddy who I'm trying to teach to play the game. Instead, you have that camaraderie, like what you were talking about, Miguel, of we're working together to defeat this thing, and we might lose, but it's going to be a heck of a story. Or we might win, and it's going to be a heck of a story, and it's going to be fun as all get out. So I have a pretty safe assumption of what this answer, because of how you've mentioned how design has changed and things have had to be tweaked as new sets come out. But do you intend to continue developing the Overlord Engine 2, even if Flesh and Blood does at one point release a PvE system of its own?
Well, I'd say that we do, but we do need the support of the community for that. That would be if the community is on, if the community is in, we're too.
I will tell you that this is kind of a mutual relation. Instead of when we get feedback and when we get good reviews and when we get people interesting and when we have people like you asking us to have interviews, that's like a boost on our will to keep doing and working better. Of course, we are also not here to say that like we have ads on our app. We ask for the patron support because it takes, as we told you, like it takes a lot of hours of our time, and this is not our primarily job. So if we are trading this for being with our family or for spending time, even though we love it, we kind of have to have here something else that keep us working. So it's not just the feedback that motivates us, of course, but yeah, that's primarily what the engine of what makes us keep working on it.
Yeah, and I mean that's perfectly reasonable. I mean, everything has a cost, right? And you guys sacrificing and dedicating your time to this. Obviously, it's somewhat unrealistic to expect, the same type of salary that you would get from whatever normal position, or even, unfortunately, to hit that point, based on the amount of time you've put in. But myself personally, I'm subscribed to the Patreon. I'm intending to be for the foreseeable future, just because, like, I believe in this app and what you guys have made, and I know I'm going to be using it an absurd amount, and I would just feel better being able to kick a few dollars to you guys to, say thank you for all the hard work you've done.
Yeah, and thank you for the
Thank you
support.
for that.
And if there's something that I must say is that every time someone supports us, they're kind of, if they like the engine, if they like the app, and if they plan on playing, it's kind of like an investment, because if you pay us a little bit, it's
Yeah.
just, it sometimes it's like what it takes for us to keep going. It's extra motivation to develop
Yeah.
extra stuff, more cool stuff going on.
Yeah, for us, it's kind of huge at this
Yeah,
point. So.
my goal in content creation for Flesh and Blood that is going to take a little while for me to reach, I think, but it's always been to be able to have a casual, fun type of format thing that I could showcase. My favorite hero is Arachne, so I'm not really in danger of becoming the best Arachne player that's going to win a calling or US Nats.
You
or
never know.
anything
You
of
never
that
know.
sort. Maybe
Heroes come back. Heroes come back. They have been throwing some cards that makes. For example, my favorite hero it's Viscera. It's still Viscera. So my first pick was my beloved hero, and I'm really sad that he's not as good. But every card is making his a little bit better. So I believe that every hero will reach Living Legends, because I think that's what they intend.
Yeah, I absolutely have faith that one day Arachne is just going to be the scourge of the format, and they're going to be winning left and right, and I'll be able to just be there happy with all of the other Arachnes that are winning things. But more than anything, I just this like Overlord Engine 2 is just the perfect way for somebody to use whatever hero that they love without having any sort of that weird, like, oh, if I'm going to this event, maybe I should play something that I have a better chance of winning with, which I've never been, I guess I'm a competitive person. I don't like losing. I don't generally play games with the intent to lose, but I also want to play something that I connect with and that I enjoy the theme of, which is one of the reasons that I love Dungeons & Dragons so much, was because I love storytelling and just really getting into character and being the character that I create. And Flesh and Blood, as almost every player who has played it realizes, like, yeah, there's some definite RPG elements to this. And then you marry it with something like the Overlord Engine 2, and it allows you to really get into that, right? And I'm over the moon excited for it. And mentioning that the Patreon is just like an investment, that's absolutely what it is for me. Like, I'm going to be paying to buy Flesh and Blood cards anyway, and then this is the perfect way for me to use them outside of the 1 to 2 times a year I actually get to go meet people in the Flesh and Blood to play in paper.
And one thing that we can guarantee is that we try to be as fair as possible, right? So we are not here to try to ask a lot of money. We're just trying to be as fair as possible, so we can keep working and keep you providing a product that you will still enjoy and not having the issue of having millions of ads.
Rip anyone off.
So I know ads can be annoying. Ads can show up when you are trying to do, but even though we are trying to show like one ad every 5 minutes, and mostly because you also have to manage your cards. So our intent is that those ads will appear when you are managing your stuff, and that will really not impact your experience. But it's also hard for us to be asking, but it has to be done, right? So
no, it's a reasonable thing, and in terms of a trade-off, I can't imagine somebody being too frustrated about having this amazing tool and then having to wait 30 seconds to a minute every now and then for an ad, especially like you said, because they typically are timed when it's like, okay, I've got to be thinking about something else anyway, so it's not the end of the world that the ad's rolling. But
do you know something? Fun fact: our first ever review on App Store.
Oh no. Okay, what is it?
It was a 1-star review, and the guy just wrote, "The game is not in Spanish."
Yeah.
Interesting.
But we also had some reviews regarding ads that are not that great. And actually, if you go to the Play Store, it doesn't have a great score, even though we don't have many reviews. But what we think is that people who enjoy it normally don't go and do the review. But if they have a bad experience, they will go right away write the review, right? So
yeah, it's a weird thing about human psychology with that, right? And
Yeah.
I think, again, at the risk of being too truthful, I don't think I have reviewed the app yet. So when we're done talking, I will go and do
Thank
that
you.
for you
Appreciate
guys
that.
if I haven't.
Appreciate it. But even though I don't think that it really matters, because
Yeah.
people that go
Yeah.
on the store and look, maybe if they are Flesh and Blood players, they will download it if it has a good score, and not
Right.
if it doesn't. But we are not for the brighter audience, right? We are kind
Right.
of
It's
niche,
more it's
so-
it's a niche within a niche almost,
is, yeah.
right? So there's
Exactly.
not theoretically going to be just a random person stumbling on
But
it.
we
and
appreciate it, your review, of course. It's motivating, as I told you, to have 5-star reviews and not just one review.
Yep.
I still get depressed when I get a 1-star review, and we had some issues, especially
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
ads when we released. We had a bug on the ads that that we didn't find, and we
Yeah.
had two reviews of 1-star regarding that, and one we also made one release that was crashing on some type of phones, because we don't have every type of every phone.
You guys
to
don't
test.
wait. You're telling me that you guys don't own every cell phone this
No,
could possibly be
not
installed?
yet, not yet. I think we would need a lot more patrons to be
I
able
would
to
say
do that.
just like 1,000 more patrons to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So easy thing to shoot for.
I mean, one of the reasons that we took so long to release for iOS, for example, was because we simply didn't have the devices.
Yes, I didn't
Yeah,
have a
fair enough.
a MacBook. Now I have, and I'm making the call on it. But yeah, so it took a long to buy one, just to buy
Sure.
one
Yeah.
to be able to release. So I bought it specifically for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, as an iOS user, thank you for doing that. I greatly
No worries,
appreciate
no
that.
worries.
So we've talked a lot about the history, about things that are happening now. Is there anything in the future? I know you just teased Carp. They're the next hero that's going to be released to the broader public. Do you guys have a date that you're comfortable saying this is theoretically when Carp will be available?
So at the time of recording this interview, it should have been already live.
Okay.
But we are having some issues on the Google review. So it's ready to come out on iOS. It's standing for my click. But on the Google, we are still having some issues because we added notifications. So people will now receive a notification when a new weekly challenge is available,
Awesome.
which is Mondays. And I'll try to keep always changing it on Monday. But yes, regarding permissions, I'm in conversation because they have they have rejected it twice. So and today was the day that they rejected again. So I'm just waiting for them to tell me what can I do to make it make it.
How can I make you happy so that I can get this out
Google,
to the people that want to use it? Come on, Google. Okay.
And
so
there's also more stuff in the horizon coming, in which you can expect in the near future. There will be a new game mode. I mean, 2 new game modes, if you can consider that.
I can't. That's blowing my mind, actually, because I could. I'm very much not a outside the box thinker, and I'm just thinking about how excited I am because even like I haven't played Carp yet, but Zul'Goroth is the only boss that I've actually battled in the app, so I'm just like so excited to have extra time to battle them. And now there are going to be multiple game modes that you can do.
Yep. The first that we were planning to release, we've been working on these modes for a while, and I think we're safe to release to playtest this new game mode, which would be called Trophy Hunt. It will be a PvE experience. It's like competitive PvE.
Interesting. Okay.
You would fight the boss, but at the same time, you'll be competing with your friends for last hits in some breakpoints to the boss.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
This is one that is coming. Other one that's coming is the Gifts expansion, in which you will be... people ask a lot about progression in the match. So kind of like adventure mode or something like that, in which you play, you get upgrades, boosts, and then you progress on a storyline.
Okay.
But I don't believe in that, and I don't think that Flesh and Blood is catered for this type of game.
Okay.
Because for me, Flesh and Blood is one fight.
Sure. Okay.
But what we're doing with the Gifts expansion is we're extending this one fight in order to allow players to progress within the match, and at the same time, the boss will be super hard.
Interesting. Okay.
So from time to time, players will receive like a gift from a god,
Blessings.
and
Oh,
that would give them permanent upgrades or something like that.
interesting. So I'm just going to throw this out there, and if I'm wrong, laugh at me and tell me I'm wrong. But theoretically, you hit turn 5 or turn 10 in the match, and then all of a sudden you'll get a notification, and it's the big deity from like Enlightened Strike has just granted you a boon, and all of your attacks now have like +1 attack value to them. Is that like the type of thing that you're referring to?
Sort of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You don't spill any of the secret sauce. But
we won't.
okay,
We won't.
I just wanted to make sure I was comprehending what you were saying. That's awesome. Okay.
But it's hard because, as Hugo said, like it's one fight. If
Right.
we introduce anything like that as a gift to the player, it will make the fight easier, right? So it's kind of a delicate balance that we are still trying to
Sure.
to get it
Yeah.
completely sorted out. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, what you can expect is, and one sneak peek that I can give is Heavy Hitters expansion was the expansion that enabled the whole gifts expansion
Okay.
because of vigor tokens, agility tokens, and might tokens. That's
Interesting.
a sneak peek I can give.
Okay. All right. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. I like that. So if somebody has watched this and hasn't already gone to find where they can download this app, where is this app available for people to download?
So currently Android and iOS, and another news that we have, I would say a couple of weeks we should be, not if the next 15 days or 1 month for sure, it will be out. It's a web version, but we only
Okay.
be providing those for patrons and patrons above a certain tier, because we
Okay.
think that the biggest contributors don't get a lot of extra stuff, and we think that they
Sure.
deserve more. So we are working on a web based version that they can use
Awesome.
as an extra tool.
That seems like a good thing, that maybe somebody that runs an LGS and wants to have more casual nights would be a good thing to have, because then they can log into their account and pull it up on a TV they have in the game store. That way people don't have to be crowded around a phone or something, and then it's able
That could
to...
happen. Yeah.
And you can manage the barricades there, so we added
Right.
a place to
That's-
manage barricades instead
Okay,
of
yeah.
having to manage them physically.
Oh, awesome.
We like to manage those physically because I think that's also part of the experience of
Sure.
Overlord. But we understand that sometimes at the table they don't have space to put so many barricades. We do have playmats, specific playmats that we also sell
Okay.
that has the designs and stuff. But even though having a playmat just for the boss, we understand that sometimes it's not convenient. So having
Sure.
that, I think it's also helpful for
Cool.
the player.
Also, the web version is mainly to allow online play, like via Discord or
Yeah.
something like that. It's easier to play
yeah.
online with the web version.
Totally. Yeah. Because there are some ways that you can like plug in your phone and mirror it to your computer, but those are can be a little clunky at times, and sometimes difficult for the average person to figure out, I would say. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
And you don't get smooth animations with that.
Right. That's true. Yeah. They're not nearly as pretty as what's actually happening in real time on the phone.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk with me. I didn't think I could be more excited about the Overlord Engine 2, but I definitely am now. Thank you again for all of the hard work that you guys have put in. I just want to give you a chance now to shout anybody out, tell people where to find you on the internet, give info about the Discord and all of that stuff.
First of all, thanks for having us. It is always a pleasure to come and be able to talk more about the engine and to meet nice people. So for us, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. It's amazing to have a channel and to reach out to people this way, because this makes the difference. One way that people can reach us, and we noticed that a lot of people don't see it, is we have a tiny icon on the upper left corner of the app for our Discord server. Please join that.
The best way to get in touch with you guys is to download the app to your phone and then hit that Discord icon so
just
that
go
you
to
can
Discord.
join.
You can find us.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'll put a link to the PvE Discord in the description of this video so that people can find that easy. I'm also going to put links to the at least the iOS store, and then I'll try and figure out how to link it to the Google Play Store as well. I'll put a link to your Patreon down there as well, because if anybody's going to be using this regularly, it's absolutely worth the few bucks a month, in my humble opinion, to do this. So thank you guys again.